Correlation. Correlation is the relationship between the two or more variables in which the changes in the values of one variables are followed by the changes in the values of the other variables. It's the association of any two variables is known as a correlation, and it basically showing the numerical measurement of the degrees of correlation between the variables. These variables could be an independent variable or a dependent variables. The types of correlation, on the basis of the degrees of correlation, we have the positive or a negative correlation. And on the basis of the number of variables, we have simple correlation, partial correlation, and multiple correlation. And on the basis of the linearity, we have linear correlation and non-linear correlation. So on the basis of the degree of correlation, the first one is the positive correlation. Two or more variables are said to be a positive correlation if they are deviates in the same direction. It means if the one variable is increases, the other should also be increases. If the one is decreases, the other should also be decreases. These are the known as the positive correlation. The examples we can consider like the height or weight. If the height is increases, then the weight of a particular person is also increases. And the other example could be like the amount of the rainfall and a yield of the crop. If the rainfall, the amount of the rainfall is increases, the yield of the crop is also increases. The other example we can also consider like the price and the supply of a commodity. Next is the negative correlation. Two variables are said to be negative correlation if they are deviates in the opposite direction. Okay, that means if one variable is increases, the other is decreases. The example of the negative correlations are like the price and the demand of a particular commodity. If the price is increases, the demand of that commodity is decreases. So these are the example of negative correlation. The other could be like the sales of the woolen garments and the temperature, and the vaccination and illness. The more that people are vaccinated for the specific illness, the less that illness occurs. So these are the example of a negative correlation. This is the graphical representation of the positive, negative, and a no correlation. Next is a linear correlation. Linear correlation is the relationship if the two variables are deviate or deviates in a constant ratio. That means they are changing with a constant ratio. It's known as a linear correlation, and the graphical representation is depicted by the straight line. Next is if you draw a graph between the two variables, that comes out to be a non-linear or curvilinear, that is known as a non-linear correlation. And these variables are changes with not a constant ratio. So the other types of the correlation are the simple, partial, and multiple correlation. The simple correlation is the correlation between the two variables is known as a simple correlation. The example could be like the radius or the circumferences of a circle, or the price and the quantity of a particular quantity demanded for the particular commodity. Next is the multiple correlation. If we have three or more variables and we are measuring the relationship between all of these variables is known as a multiple correlation. Examples are the price of a cola drink, temperature, income, and demand of the cola. That means we wanted to measure the relationship of all of these variables on the price of a cola or the demand of the cola. That is known as a multiple correlation. And the partial correlation is basically we have the three or more variables, and we kept the other variables constant, and measuring the effect between any two variables is known as a partial correlation. Example, if we keep the price of the cola constant and check the correlation between the temperature and the demand for the cola, it is known as the partial correlation. Now, the method of studying the correlation, there are basically the two methods for measuring the correlation. One is the graphical method, and another is the algebraic method. Graphical method, we use the scatter diagram. And for the algebraic method, there are the two methods. One is the Calculation correlation and other is the Sperson correlation. This is the examples for the scatter diagram. As we know that the correlation is denoted by the small r and is varying from the -1 to +1. If the value of r is -1 or a +1 is known as the perfect positive or a perfect negative correlation. These are the like if the points are close to each other, we depicted that as the high degree of correlation, and if there is any like deviation between these points is known as a low degree of correlation.